and welcome to the RevOps Show. We took a small hiatus last week as the entire team met up in person for the first time in a very long time to do some team bonding and alignment so that we can be successful and finish out the year strong. We are back today with an episode on having a single system of truth, how that differs from a single source of truth, and what a single system of truth actually does for your business. I won't give anything away, but Doug does drop a hot take during this episode that you are going to want to hear. And with that, let's get ready to RevOps.
Jess.
Doug.
Jess.
Doug.
Jess, can you believe it?
We made it to Friday?
No.
What? Oh, less than, 72 hours?
Monday morning.
Monday morning. Live and in person. You'll get to see me. Aren't you so excited?
We get to fly up to Boston together?
We do.
Then we get to spend 3 days plus a little bit. 3 days. 3 days with Jess. Does it get better than that? I don't think it does. I do not think that it does.
Here's the thing, everybody. 3 days with Doug.
Oh, it definitely doesn't get better than that.
Whew.
It does not. It definitely doesn't get any. I mean, that's as good as it gets. That is as good as it.
Okay.
I think you're overstimulated. I think that's why you're a little bit in that kind of place right now. You're just.
I may be overstimulated. I've had an amazing amount of meetings for a Friday. It's been insane. Amazing. Yeah, an amazing amount.
What was your favorite meeting today?
Oh, so many. So many meetings that I need to choose my favorite.
What was your favorite?
What was my favorite? Probably talking to you about object orientation. That was probably my favorite part of the day so far.
I don't even remember that one.
That was the very beginning of the day.
The very beginning of the day.
Mm-hmm. That was my first.
That wasn't yes. Oh, yes.
No, it feels like yesterday, but it was not yesterday.
Yes, I remember that. Ah, yes, I remember it well. Jess, when's the last time we recorded this on Friday? When's the last time we recorded this in our standard recording slot?
It's been a month.
Now, obviously, people are not going to hear this when we're recording it, but
right.
So there's a little bit of prognostication that it's about to come here.
Prognostication.
What are you doing this week? What are you doing this weekend? I'm going
to see Haunted Mansion. I'm going to fly my Disney nerd flag.
So
I've got my shirt, my Madame Leota shirt.
What is?
I'm ready to go.
What does it say? Regions?
From Regions Beyond. That's what she says on the ride. And it's a Madame Leota shirt. From Regions Beyond, past, present.
So you bought a shirt for a ride?
Well, I mean, I bought a shirt for Disney World. This was my Magic Kingdom shirt because the ride's in Magic Kingdom.
Why didn't you get It's a Small World?
I have ears. Shirt? I have ears.
No, I understand ears, but why didn't you get
I don't like Small World. Hot take, I don't like Small World.
No one does. That's the whole point of it.
So I don't ride Small World. I've not ridden Small World in the last 2 Disney trips.
You know how at if you're in the bad place, you start off your day by singing 1877 Cards for Kids.
Right.
So Disney onboarding, the first 48 hours, they put you in a room and they just play It's a Small World After All on repeat.
No, thank you. Can deal with it.
So Haunted, is that the Haunted Mansion behind you?
Behind me, yes. Yes, it is.
Is that really Haunted Mansion?
Yes, it is.
That
from
is
Disneyland.
Not.
It is. It is.
Is that always there, or do you just have that there because?
But no, it's always been there. I've got you can't really see it. I've got the ghost. I've got the hitchhiking ghost from the ride. Yeah, no, for real.
You have the hitchhiking ghost, not the Hitchhiker's Guide. You have the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Oh my god! No. See, I've got Mr. Toad here. I've got all the rides from Disney behind me. Little. Okay.
Do you know what the meaning of life is?
The meaning of life.
Mm-hmm.
The movie, or just in general.
42 is the answer.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, Hitchhiker's Guide. Yes, now I follow.
Come on, keep up, Jess. Keep up. So
I'm so excited about the movie. I can't.
So I have to admit, So this is a movie based on the ride, as opposed to a ride based on a movie.
Correct.
So
it's like Pirates of the Caribbean. It was a movie based on the ride. The ride came first.
I think wasn't Pirates of the Caribbean a book?
I do not know if the ride is based on a book. I'm pretty sure it's not, but
So what is Haunted Mansion? And how is that different from Haunted House? Just the net worth of the inhabitant?
oh my gosh. Yes, it is. The net worth of the inhabitant. 100%.
I mean, what's
it's
the
like the
difference
best
between
ride
a house and a mansion? A couple million.
It's one of the last rides that Walt contributed to. I mean,
so what is
get to see it built. What is it? It's a haunted mansion. It's a you ride it and it's a haunted mansion. It takes you through.
So you sit in one of those things and it takes. So it's not like Tower of Terror.
No, it's not like Tower of Terror. Hijinks ensue. It's one of the original Disney World rides.
Okay, so I think I've been on it a few times. Like it's not like there's nothing particularly scary about it.
No, not particularly.
Yeah.
No,
okay.
It's more funny. So what's the movie? It's more funny than scary.
So what's the plot of the movie? Someone gets on the ride and gets stuck and has to wait 48 hours.
That is not the plot of the movie.
Actually, I know what the plot of the movie is.
Yet, so
I know what the plot of the movie is.
It might be the bride. I think the Hatbox Ghost is going to show up. It's going to be amazing.
Nope. Here's what it is. Here's what the plot.
Okay, tell me.
It's a family is going to visit Disney World, where mom is excited to ride the Haunted Mansion ride.
The Haunted House ride.
No, I said house. I didn't say haunted house. I started off saying house. The Haunted Mansion ride. And in a Freaky Friday type thing, they get stuck, but end up in It's a Small World After All for 48 hours, where the song is sung.
That would be
because that would be a haunted mansion.
That is a horror movie.
That would like if you went into a mansion and you got stuck there, and It's a Small World After All played for 48 hours straight. That would be pretty haunted, would it not?
It would be pretty haunted. Yes, it would. But I'm excited.
I can tell. So is this at theaters or is this on Disney Plus?
It's at theater. I'm going to the Cineplex, Doug, to see it.
No, I'm not surprised that you're going to a Cineplex. So you're going to a Cineplex, not to Alamo?
I am not going to Alamo Drafthouse. No, I'm going to the local theater here in San Antonio, Santikos.
Well, you said that Alamo Drafthouse isn't local.
Well, Alamo Drafthouse is more regional than San Antonio local because you can go to in Austin or Dallas. But yeah, it's Texas.
Hold on a second. Yeah. What Cineplex are you going to?
Called Santikos. They are only in San Antonio.
So it's not an Odeon or it's not part of any other. I bet you it is. Then there's no way they're getting it first. They don't get first runs if they're not part of the.
They do. We don't have like Cinemarks and AMC's here. We have a couple, but we have Santikos. If Cinemark had the Haunted Mansion popcorn buckets, I'd be going there, but I've called, they do not have them. So there's no reason for me to go to Cinemark. Santikos is better anyway. Yeah, I know.
You called to find out if they had Haunted Mansion buckets.
I did. Popcorn buckets, they light up. They're the Madame Leota globe.
So
I'm a Disney nerd. Like we know this.
No, I understand that.
I
understand you're going to take this.
Yeah. Home. Yes, I was going to take it home, but they don't.
You're not going to take it home now?
Well, they don't have them. Cinemark had them.
I thought you said Cinemark doesn't have them, so you're going to the other place. Oh, so the other place.
There was no reason for me to go to Cinemark other than to get because Santikos is nicer.
Gotcha. So Santikos doesn't have them either.
No.
So my sense is that a third of the people listening to this episode right now are completely on your side and are going, "What the hell, Doug?" A third of people are on my side, and a third of people have no idea what we're talking about. I think that's where we are.
Might be an accurate statement.
Alrighty, so see, I just don't like going to the theater. I think I would like going to Alamo. I mean, it's just such a crappy experience.
Alamo Drafthouse is different.
Well, I think that's what I've heard. I've not been to Alamo Drafthouse.
Part of the reason I'm not going to Alamo Drafthouse is I'm taking Isabella. So she prefers the movie theater to Alamo Drafthouse. She's not impressed with any of that. She would much rather just go get popcorn and a frozen Coke and call it a day.
A frozen Coke?
Yeah, frozen Coke, icy, an icy.
Oh, like a Slurpee.
Like a Slurpee, yes.
Okay, gotcha. I was like, frozen Coke, is that a new thing that Coke's
we are like Southern and Northern is really showing their colors.
No. I see. I get it. No, I understand what you're saying. I've never heard it called frozen Coke before.
We call it that down here.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm learning. Just making mental notes. Last question. So, are these like just regular stadium seats, or are they the recliner seats?
Oh, they're the fancy recliner seats. Yeah.
I think that's become pretty standard now. I think that's their improvement.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like, okay, that was great till 8,000 people sat in it, and who knows what's there.
Oh, thank you for this.
No problem.
I will now have that in my mind as I sit down in my theater seat this evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble.
Are we fighting? Because I feel like you're setting
Rumble's
expectations
not a fight.
for the audience.
Rumble's not a fight. We're rumbling today. What are we rumbling about?
What are we rumbling about? You said okay, I guess we are rumbling. So today I want to talk about source of truth versus system of record.
Here's what I have to say about source of truth. Are you ready, Jess?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Let it go. Turn away and slam the door.
We should do an episode where you just answer all of my questions with your soundboard. There it is. We've gotten some shout outs on the soundboard this week.
I have a feeling that we're going to get a cease and desist letter of some form at this point now.
And then
single source of truth.
Single source of truth. And system of record. So,
where do you want to start?
I want to start by talking about each of these separately, and then we can talk about where they might overlap and interact, and
before we go any further, you know my nickname, right?
What's your nickname, Doug?
Truth. I mean, that's what people call me. Truth.
Oh, is that what they call you?
So,
okay.
So when we talk about a single source of truth, we're talking about me, right?
Sure.
What do you want to know, Jess? What truth do you want to know? Ask me anything.
So what is a source of truth? Let's start there.
Me? I thought I'd covered that already.
Okay, well, great. We solved it. Awesome.
What is a source of truth? I guess, because I know where this is going, because I know we're going to go to a single source of truth. And
yep.
Jess, what is truth?
What is truth? Wow, all of the definitions of truth have the word true in them. Can't find one without true in it.
So like what's a source of truth? In a lot of ways, a source of truth, like a system of record, is a source of truth. It's and actually, as I think about this, and by the way, I want to give a disclaimer here, because I know you did some preparation for this. I did some preparation for this, believe it or not. The level of the labyrinth that exists as you start talking about sources of truth, the implication of sources of truth, the data intelligence, BI, visualization, etc. I mean, if you are a data scientist, please skip this show, because this will be so unbelievably painful for you, and I want to apologize for that. So what is a source of truth? A system of record is a source of truth. One of the questions too what I actually think is the more actionable question for people is the point of truth, the access point of truth.
Okay.
Right. Because source is where does it originate? I'm pretty sure source has some level of the beginning where it starts. And the reality is, when most people are talking about a source of truth or needing a source of truth, they're needing a source of truth where they are, or they're needing a truth where they are. So it's actually up, so here's what I think, and here's where my takeaway on this entire conversation is going to go. Stop shooting bunny rabbits with shotguns.
What do you mean by that?
the conversation that exists in mid-market around this concept of source of truth, single source of truth, system of record, etc., is so it's ponderous. It's I don't want to say it's not that it's just theory or theoretical. It's moot. It doesn't mean anything. It's distinction without difference. Because I think what happens with quote unquote source of truth with the conversation is what we're really it's valuing precision over relevance, right? So when I say what is truth, let's talk about revenue, right? So we need a source of truth for revenue, right? So what is truth? So if I'm talking to finance and we're talking about revenue, and I say, well, what is truth when it comes to revenue? We're talking about pennies,
right?
And we're talking hours,
yeah, right?
Maybe days, right?
Yep.
If I talk about truth, revenue truth, and I'm talking for a sales organization, 150 salesperson organization with doing $500 million. What's revenue truth? What we're really talking about is direction, right? I don't think any rep needs to know to the penny, or any manager needs to know to the penny what the revenue is. As a matter of fact, I would say that as long as we're plus or minus $10,000, it's probably good enough for whatever it is that we're doing. In terms of the types of issues and questions and decisions. And for those of you listening to me, I'm not saying that pennies don't matter. I'm saying that pennies don't matter for how we're using it in the sales organization. So it's not okay that sales only gets the data to plus or minus 10,000. Sales is going to have to get data to the penny so that finance can get what they need. But while what we don't want to have, and where the idea of single source of truth comes from, I think, where it becomes applicable, it's actually the problem that we're talking about here is there's a twofold place. The primary place where I think it is acutely talked about, the underlying source of this as an issue, is pre-cloud.
Pre-cloud.
When the dominant way we would communicate, especially numbers data, was spreadsheets.
Okay.
And you had your spreadsheet, I had my spreadsheet, and I manipulated this and you manipulated that. And this person entered their data here and someone else entered the same data in another spreadsheet. And it looks like we're looking at the same thing, but we're not looking at the same thing. Or you're looking at version 2, but I updated mine on version 3. And now and I made a slight tweak to the formula and you're still. And so in that case, you had multiple sources of quote unquote truth. No one was looking at the same thing. And the thing that was really bad about that is you thought everyone was looking at the same thing and everyone was looking at a different thing. That's what you want to avoid. Where we're getting the next place too is data architecture, data structure, and data design, database design, which is funny because if you look at all of the conversation about quote unquote source of truth, it's the high end hierarchy. It's your data hierarchy.
Right.
Not your database design. Because it's, how does the single source of truth is the one place that has everything that is considered to be correct.
Right. When you say it's not your data hierarchy, or it's your database, what's the difference between data hierarchy and database design? How are those two different things?
So each, when I'm talking about the database, that's the equivalent of a sheet. Right. It's your rows and columns.
Okay.
Your hierarchy gets into your tables or objects, the relationship, your relationship diagrams, how they interact with each other, parent, child, peer, those various things.
Okay.
Right? And it also, that's data. And then it's also systems. So my ERP, so my data hierarchy and architecture, et cetera, gets into my ERP versus my product lifecycle management tool versus my human resources information system, my CRM, like you're beginning to get all of those things. And so like where you see the conversation come around this idea of single source of truth, et cetera, is talking about all these different tools and whatnots, right?
Yep.
Now look, if you're Amazon, if you're GE, if you're dealing in terabytes of data, terabytes of transactional information, millions of dollars of millions of transactions, like that stuff really matters because
Right.
it gets leveraged out over time. But if you're a mid-market company, that we're making the same mistake that we made with big data. Is big data became this hot thing because some big company took advantage of big data and where they could crunch and pull and again, if you look at Amazon, if Amazon can influence a response by a basis point,
Mm-hmm.
it's millions of dollars for them.
Right.
And therefore hundreds of millions of enterprise. And by the way, what it's also doing is that type of thing is driving a whole pantheon of other automated elements. And so when you begin to get degrees off, automation magnifies. What one of my favorite concepts when we were in the big data world game was it's not about big data, it's about small data. It's about how are you applying the data.
Right.
And so when we talk about source of truth and I say, what is truth? The answer, the question that you need to answer before this conversation can be relevant. And what I mean by for this conversation to be relevant is so that you can get an answer to the question.
Right.
Because if you don't have a fulcrum to manage the trade-off, you can't answer the question.
Yeah.
And so the question you need to answer is, for what?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. What's the use of this for?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I think. I'm sorry. Go on. I don't want to.
No. So I was going to say one thing that struck me as I was kind of doing research and just thinking through this. I see a lot of people touting that it increases productivity to have that single source of truth because I'm not having to go to multiple places. And again, I get that from one standpoint. I don't know that, by the way, I don't know if that's the reason that you put single source of truth. That's not necessarily what you're hiring it for. But the other thing is I feel like that's not necessarily the case because you're putting a ton of calories into a lofty goal where everybody doesn't necessarily need all the data all the time. And so it becomes a juice for the squeeze question for me when we talk about someone that's not an Amazon, not a GE, of trying to get to this goal of having that single source of truth.
So I'm gonna make a bold statement. I haven't thought about it a whole lot. Those are typically those make up the bulk of my best insights ever, and fairly they also make up the bulk of my absolute worst insights ever. The conversation around source of truth and single source of truth in small business to mid-market, so 10,000 employees or less, and I think actually it probably goes to more than that, but let's just to be conservative. What we're talking about is, I'm going to call it data system alignment or system data alignment. We've got all our different systems, all our different applications, right? And it is the alignment of that, and which is the metaphor of sales and marketing alignment.
Right.
And let me tell you what sales and marketing alignment is. You ready?
Oh, I can't wait.
Focusing on sales and marketing alignment is equal to rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It might make you feel good for a minute,
But the ship
but
is
it's not going
sinking.
to help you. It's not going to help you. Right.
Right.
Again, sales and marketing, like trying to align them internally, that's not the purpose.
Right.
Alignment is a byproduct of things. It's not the focus of things. So one of the things that's interesting is, and look, anybody listening to this, it might sound like I'm poo-pooing or shooting down source of truth, and therefore saying, like, someone might inaccurately say, well, he just doesn't understand the importance of data and data accuracy and data structure and all those other things. And I think we've got plenty of episodes of the show where I'm about as big a data nerd as anyone can be that's not a data scientist. Right. So there are nerdier people than me, but not much. Again, it comes back to what are you doing with it? And so we're talking again about the productivity argument, because that's what I wanted to pick up on.
Yeah, so the argument for productivity is you're increasing the productivity of your team by putting this single source of truth in place, because I now don't have to go to 4 different places to find the data that I'm looking for. My point is, I don't know that that might be what we're saying single source of truth is solving for. I don't think that's the case. That to me is more a consolidation of tools than necessarily single source of truth, because I don't think everybody needs all the data all the time. So certainly for marketing, you might need to consolidate things so your marketing team isn't having to go to 10 different tools to look at something. Same thing with your sales team. That to me is more like streamlining process, not necessarily single source of truth. And for where we're talking about like these mid-level organizations or these smaller organizations who are trying to go for a single source of truth, to me, you're putting all these calories into a lofty goal and you're not really increasing productivity, because it's such a Everest to climb to do it.
So the point of source of truth, let alone single source of truth, is for the manipulation of data.
Right.
It is a data. It's much more of a data warehousing to drive BI, business intelligence, data visualization, etc. It is for the matching up of data. What the argument on productivity, that's an argument for a system of record, a single system of record.
Yeah.
Right. So if I'm in sales, I have a system of record. This is the system I go to that gives me the data that I need. Right. And it's one of the reasons that I prefer platform solutions for sales over point solutions for sales. Right. Unless the point solution, now there are times where the point solution covers my full job. Right. It's complete. Right. So if I'm going to be on a point of solution that's on top of a CRM platform, and I'm having to be in my point solution sometimes, in my CRM solution other times, I think that kills productivity. I think that kills utilization. There is not a system of record there.
Right.
Right. So I would say, well, I mean, there's a system of record. There's just 2 systems of record for somebody. But a system of record is for this function. This is where I go.
Right.
And by the way, it should probably be system of truth, not source of truth. And again, the reason I say that is the data is sourced. Like the whole point of all of these systems, data warehousing, ETLs, reverse ETL, integrations, APIs, all of that is to be able to originate data at multiple points and bring it together into a single system, into a single place. The level that you should do that is highly dependent upon, again, what the needs are, right? I mean, we had a situation where we started off with this really broad, like, well, the data's here, so we need to have it here, and it was going to be a crazy complicated integration, multiple parts, all kinds of API blasts. So API limits were going to have to be raised.
Right.
I mean, we were probably looking at what it was going to be 50 to 75,000, maybe even, upwards of 100,000 just to build the integration to launch. And it was probably going to be 20 to 24 weeks, going to be 4 to 6 months to launch. And we're looking at it and we're saying, okay, I don't see how we can justify this. Right.
Right.
And so we got in and we said, okay, well, how is this? I mean, it was going to be bi-directional, and because if the data's here, it's got to be there.
Yep.
And then what we found out is it was pushing data from a place to be used in a single part of a single sales motion. What happened after that had no relevance. So like getting the data back into the original system, nothing was going to be done with that. It wasn't relevant to, and it ended up being, instead of what I think we had 14 integration points.
Yeah.
On the initial spec, we went to a single integration point, right? It went from 20 weeks to 4 weeks. It went from 50, 75, 100,000 to, I think we did it for, we actually did it as part of the project. So I would say, I don't, significantly less than that. Right.
Right.
Fewer places to break, easier, simpler to manage, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So again, what drives productivity when it comes to when it comes to data?
What?
Give me the precise piece of data that I want at the precise time that I want, in the precise place that I want, without having to ask. That's what maximizes productivity. By the way, give me the specific data that I want. Don't give me one more piece of data. Don't give me one less piece of data. Here's my question. For all of this productivity, optimization with data and single sources of truth, why? Marketing automation has been here for 20 years, solidly 20 years.
Yep.
Why do conversion rates continue to degrade? Why do cost pers continue to increase? Well, the reason is we're overwhelming people with data. We're creating false relationships. We're creating false causations, correlations, time frames, etc. There's somebody that I know and I love and I respect, and they're now, with AI and what AI can crunch, they're now going to, as part of their data visualization, they're going to use AI to identify data relationships with no other real training beyond that. It's like, oh my God. Right.
Yeah.
So that aspect of all the data somewhere, like the thing that drives productivity, and I think the thing that drives performance, is data curation. Right?
I agree.
And I learned this the hard way, by the way, because when I was coaching college baseball, the advanced analytic baseball packages that existed were just beginning to come out, and so we kept the scorebook on an iPad, so we were able to bring in all of these analytics packages. So it was pretty cool. I was actually using a package that Major League Baseball teams used. It was pretty. Like the data you got. Oh my God, Jess, it was so wonderful. I'm like, let me just sit here and reminisce for a moment. And I started off trying to show this. I try to get like the hitters on the team, everyone to understand this.
Yeah.
See, here's what happens when you throw the changeup arm side and here's what you're doing when you're tired, right? And all this, and I was coaching JUCO. I was community college, junior college. These were not people. And let me tell you, no one on our team was there because they were on their way to a mathematician's degree. They were overwhelmed by it. It was only as I learned how to curate, how to give them the data when the data was relevant. And I had people that were curious. They would be like, Coach, what's the showing? What's the showing? Well, all good. All good. And really, Coach, tell me, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I see this a lot because I run our migration team, and actually it was interesting because we did a mapping exercise with IT, and then we did a separate one with sales. And so IT, they're like, well, we need that. Okay, well, why? Well, just in case. And it's like, okay, well, if we have too much data, you're going to overwhelm the sales team. There's a lot of room for confusion and misunderstanding of things. And also there's a higher likelihood when you migrate, when you integrate, you've got more points of failure that you've got to manage. So then we get on with sales team, and it's like, oh no, we don't need all that. We need like a quarter of that information. And it heavily simplified because the goal is for the sales team to get into the system. They're the ones utilizing it. And so I think we have what if we need that? What just in case mindset? It's like, no, we need to be clear on what we're using this for.
Well, the thing that's funny about that is is, oh, we need that. Okay, we can turn that on.
Right.
It's there.
Yeah.
It's there. It just doesn't necessarily have to be here right now.
Right.
Right. Take advantage. I mean, getting back to the danger on source of truth and system of truth, where everyone's so focused on this system and that system and the other system and all that meanwhile your database has 4 variations of lead status, or
right,
or this rep created this property over here, or my favorite, the democratization of fill in the blank, the democratization of reporting and dashboards. And so everyone creates their dashboard or their variation of the dashboard, and it looks basically the same. And now we're back to 100 different versions of the spreadsheet. I mean, like, how many times have we looked in that Ron's sales dashboard, Bill's sales dashboard?
I know.
Right. They started off the same then. Right. But
yeah,
like those are the things that we need to solve. Right. How are we curating the data so that the right data is getting to the right people? How are we managing that? By the way, you have 2 types of sales teams that I've learned. You've got one sales team that says they're data minimalists. You've got other sales teams that's like, oh no, if that information is there, I want to know it. I want to have access to it.
Right.
And I've heard some, look, I want my sales team to have access to all the data so that they can figure out what they need to do. I mean, I've seen a lot of salespeople spend a lot of time working a lot of spreadsheets to figure out something. And I'm like, hey, you know what? If you picked up the phone, like they're trying to plan out, how do I maximize my comp program?
Right.
Hey, you know what? If you picked up the phone, you'd probably make a lot more progress to maxing your comp than creating, than taking your online course to learn how to create a pivot table. Nothing against pivot tables. So yeah, I think that what you need is, it almost like, we did a podcast more than a year ago where we talked about what is a single source of truth and can you have more than one?
Right.
I think each group needs to have a source of truth, which is basically a system of record.
Right.
So if I'm in sales, this is my system of record. If I'm in marketing, this is my system of record.
And that's because different business motions, right? I'm doing different things at different times.
Yeah. I mean, we all have different needs and you might have different systems. I mean, having everything in one system, I mean, that's one of the benefits of a HubSpot. It's a single database for everybody. So
right
now, again, it is a single database, but that doesn't mean that we haven't created 4 rows. I mean, to some degree, it's easier to create 4 rows in a single database than it is in multiple databases, because if we've got multiple databases that have to be managed, then we can't, we have to have some control systems in place.
Yeah.
And so what we can't have is, if I'm in a sales role, if I'm a manager, if I'm this or if I'm that, a marketing manager, whatever the case may be, that I'm looking in I'm looking in whatever my tool is, and I have to doubt, is this accurate? Right?
Yeah.
Can I count on this? Do I have to check 13 other places? Like, that's what we can't have.
Right.
It's a back end ops job to make sure that data is aligned to the level that the data needs to be aligned to. Now, I think you can disagree with the opinion that I'm going to share, but it is my opinion, which is, I don't think all data has to align everywhere. I would love it to, but if an example, and this might be a bad example, and I'm sure someone's going to tell me somewhere where this doesn't apply, but if your name is David, but you go by Skip, right?
Yeah.
And so the first name in CRM is Skip, but the first name in the ERP is David. I'm okay with that, right? Because the ERP is using David because there's a legal component to it. There's an official component to it. If your Lyft enablement, which is really Imagine Business Consulting LLC.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
So if my CRM says Lyft enablement and my ERP says Imagine Business Development LLC, or I would tell you, if I were running our company, like if I were selling to our company, my CRM would not say Lift Enablement. That would not be the company name.
Would be Lyft.
It would be Lyft.
Right. Because that's what we call
Right.
it.
Do you know why our name is Lift Enablement?
Why, Doug?
Because Lyft.com was taken.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So if our website was Lyft Enablement and we were just Lyft, I thought that would confuse people. Right. And so that's why we're Lyft Enablement. So
Sorry.
we don't, no worries. So we don't really go by Lyft. I actually responded to the person because it was a stupid email. Somebody that I know that it started off Douglas. And by the way, the subject line was Douglas. I actually said, was this a mistake? No one calls me Douglas. I mean, the fastest way that you can be like,
I call
okay,
you Douglas, but I'm being a smart ass.
Correct. If you were selling something to me, you call me Douglas, except you call me Douglas except when you want something.
It's like calling me Jessica. I'm like, who's that?
Correct. Right. You didn't pick it up. You call me Douglas except when you want something.
I understand. Yeah, right, I do.
Right. Then you call me Truth. See how I brought that back to the beginning of the episode?
Full circle. Full circle.
Right. So I'm a believer now. I would be okay with the idea that we have a formal name and a nickname, though.
You're trying to trigger me with like managing data with that stuff. So, because there's all kinds of implications to that. But I hear you. Like that's what everybody's going to throw out. Just put a nickname field.
But what I'm saying is the fact that I'm just saying again, it would be completely reasonable to disagree with this. This is an opinion.
Sure.
This is a trade-off decision that I have, which is I'm using my CRM for this. So we use QuickBooks for finance. What QuickBooks has is not always 100% what we have in HubSpot, because you might be Elizabeth, and so that's what's in. And by the way, Jessica would be in QuickBooks. Yeah. Jess would be in CRM.
Right.
And I'd be okay with that they're two different things, because my ERP is using first name for one purpose and my CRM is using first name for another purpose. Right. So there's elements that I just say, hey, you know what? That's real life. And can we work around it? Could we create it so that there's both? Yes, we could. The question is, given everything, is that where you want to spend your time and your energy? Now, there are times where we do. There are also times that we don't. So to me, the thing that you should be focused on is a clear system of record, which also means that your field's properties are also clearly components of record. And I love to bring flexibility as close to the front line as possible. But there are places where we also have to be very careful that we don't bring that flexibility, because my preference may be different than your preference, and that's when we begin to diverge. And again, the thing is, things that make no difference early get magnified over time, and by the time you realize it, now you got a real problem.
Yep. So I think you answered all of my other questions, Doug.
Well, how about that?
Yeah, I know. So I've got some key takeaways that I think full circle, stop shooting bunny rabbits with shotguns. I really liked where you talked about curating the data. The thing that stuck in my mind as I was kind of putting together thoughts around this and doing my research is like, let's really understand what are we hiring I'm going to now say system of record. What are we hiring the data for? And what are you curating the data for? Like, I really like that idea. And basically, having multiple systems of record for your teams is a better approach than trying to strive for that single source of truth, because you may not all be working in the same system. You may not all need the same data at the same time. And that's really actually where you're going to pick up efficiency. It's also going to drive adoption far more, because you're not forcing a team into a tool that doesn't work for them.
Yeah, when you map your business process and then you map the underlying front stage, backstage to enable that business process, what you find is if I give you the system of record you need, and I give you the system of record that you need, and I give you the system of record that you need, you get a car, and you get a car, and you get a car. Instead of that, it's you get a system of record, and you get a system of record, and you get a system of record. Just wanted to bury that analogy. It's the ops function in making sure that everyone has the data that everyone needs. In the normalization of that, you know what you end up with?
What, Doug?
A single source of truth.
There you go.
Or a single system of truth. Actually, I'm going to use
single system.
I'm going to change it to single system of truth.
I like single system of truth. Yeah. Absolutely.
And in the meantime, you actually reduce the friction and increase the acceleration of your business processes, which is why we're doing all this to begin with.
Yep. I agree.
Arnie?
All right. Till next
time. That does it.
Thanks, everybody.
And that's a wrap on this episode of the RevOps Show. You shouldn't ever have to doubt if your data is correct and true. Not all data has to align everywhere according to Doug, but you should be aligned on most of your data to make sure you're able to be successful not only in your job, but to also make better decisions overall. It comes down to your business processes and making sure your system of record works for you. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to go subscribe on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you happen to listen to us. We'd also really appreciate it if you would leave us a review and share the episode. If you have any questions you would like to ask Doug or Jess about your single system of truth, email me at hannah@liftenablement.com or hit us up on X @demandcreator. Until next time, remember, you can't solve your upstream problems downstream.